Hi, I'm Chandi of Expression Fiber Arts, and today's lesson is on absolute beginning knitting. So if you have never knitted before, or if you've tried and you just couldn't get it, it seemed too hard, this is the lesson for you. What we're going to learn today is how to cast on, work the knit stitch, and bind off. Now if you know these three things, you can call yourself a knitter. What? I'm a knitter. What? Okay, so let's get started. You're gonna need some yarn. Whee! I'm using this here. This is some of my gorgeous wool. I'll put the name in the link below. It's a slow color changing yarn. I love it. Wool is my favorite. Okay, you also need some needles. Woo! Whoop! Bow! Okay, you don't need this many, but for today's demonstration, I'm going to pick out some size 9s. So, grab you some needles, grab your yarn, and let's get started! Alright, so we're going to do a slip knot to get started. Go ahead and pull up about 15 inches of yarn. Alright, you're going to make a loop, reach through, grab the yarn, and pull up a loop. This is a slip knot. And you can see we've got a nice long tail, about 15 inches. Okay, so go ahead and stick one of your needles into that loop. Cinch it tightly onto the needle. Now we're going to do what's called a Longtail Cast On. So you're going to have your hands in this sort of setup. Okay, let's do that again. So you grab both the working yarn and the tail with your bottom 3 fingers, take your thumb and pointer finger, stick them in, and then flop them back. Okay, we're taking our right needle and going under our thumb, over the yarn on our index finger, and back through the loop on our thumb. And then cinch it tight. Again, we're going under the closest loop on our thumb, over the strand on our index finger, and then back through the loop on our thumb. Okay, pull it so it's snug but not too tight. Alright, again, under, over, through, pull it tight, under, over, through. Remember not to cinch it too tightly or you won't be able to easily work your first row of knit stitches. Okay, go ahead and do a couple more. You can see it gets faster as you get more comfortable with it. So just keep going. I'm going to do 15 stitches. Okay, so you can see you've just cast on 15 stitches using the long tail cast on method. Alright, so to get started actually knitting, you're going to turn that to the left side, hold that in your left hand, insert your right needle into the loop, the first loop on the left needle. Alright, take the yarn. I'm going to use my right hand first to show you. You're going to wrap it under and over the right needle. You can use your finger to push it through if you need to, and pull up a loop like so. Now shove the loop on the left needle over and off. Okay, again, insert your right needle into the loop on the left needle. Wrap the working yarn under and over and pull up a loop. Shove that old loop on the left needle off. Okay, let's do it again. Insert your right needle, wrap your yarn around, pull it back through, so you've got a new loop. Okay, and then shove the old loop off of the left hand needle. Yay! You've just knitted 3 stitches. Okay, so this is how I have the yarn on my right hand. You can hold it a number of different ways. You just want slight tension on it, whatever feels comfortable for you. Let's go ahead and continue knitting. I actually knit with my left hand, but I wanted to show you how to knit with your right hand first because many people find it easier. So you're just going to want to experiment and see which method you prefer. I found that working with the yarn on my left hand feels most comfortable for me because I'm a crocheter. So it just feels more comfortable. You can see how I've wrapped it around my fingers, and I'll show you how to knit with the yarn on your left hand. It's really the exact same thing. The yarn's just in a slight different angle. So you insert the needle into the loop on the left needle, wrap the yarn around just like you did before, and pull up a loop. And then shove the old loop off the left needle. And that is knitting. That's the basic knit stitch. So you just keep doing that all the way across. And I'm going slow so you can really see what I'm doing, but once you get this down pat, you can go a lot faster. You'll be just whipping out projects in no time. Here's a close-up so you can see. Now, I will say that if you're working with metal needles like I am here, they can be a little slippery. So if you're having trouble with the yarn slip sliding all over, you'll want to get wooden or plastic needles that are more grippy. That's actually really helpful when you're getting started. The faster you get, you'll want to switch to metal needles just because you'll prefer the slipperiness of them. Okay, so again, here's how I have the yarn on my fingers. We'll go ahead and do another row. You're going to use your left middle finger to control that first stitch to make sure it doesn't slide off. And again, you're going to figure out how to do this as you go along. It might feel really clumsy at first. I know when I first started knitting, it just felt ridiculous. I thought, I'll never get this. My first little swatch looked terrible and lumpy, but just keep going. And you can absolutely do it. It'll get easier and easier as you go along. So we're just going to knit stitches all the way across, just like we did before. And this is knitting. This is what it is. There are a few more stitches. We'll learn those in later episodes, but for right now, this is the basic knit stitch, and you've got it. So there's another row. So now we're going to take that needle and again, flop it over to the left side. You can see the stitches look like little lumpies, little seeds, or whatever you want to call them. But this is what your work should look like. And you'll see it's kind of stretchy and squishy, especially if you're using wool like me. Okay, so we're going to do the exact same thing again. Insert your needle, pull up a loop, shove the old loop off, and just keep going. Knitting, knitting, knitting. Okay, you can see here I'm using my left middle finger to control the loop and the yarn. The faster I get, I tend to just do this motion where I'm controlling the working yarn like so. Let me go ahead and try to turn it there for you. Okay. So you just keep going. So I would just say try knitting with your left hand and with your right hand, just to see which one you prefer. The reason I went with left hand, again, was because I'm a crocheter. It felt more comfortable. And I found once I got into what's called ribbing, where you work a knit stitch, a purl stitch, a knit stitch, a purl stitch, it just goes a lot faster. And so for speed and comfort and a little bit less strain on my hands, I went with holding the yarn in my left hand. Okay, I'm going to show you what happens if a stitch falls off. Don't panic. Clutch it with your right hand as soon as you can and pop it right back on. Okay, now what happens if you drop a stitch off and it starts to unravel? This is really scary, and this is what actually prevented me from really learning how to knit for years, because I didn't know what to do if I dropped a stitch. So don't freak out, the world isn't over. You're going to grab a crochet hook, and it's a little fiddly to show you this. Normally I would hook the needles in my knees or something to keep them secure. But basically you insert the crochet hook from behind, and you're going to pull up the next loop, the loop that's right above it. Let's do it this way. There you go. You're going to pull it through and slip it right back on the needle. So there you go. So there's no reason to panic. There's nothing to fear. If you drop a stitch, woohoo, you're good. And then you just keep knitting. Just keep going like nothing happened. You're cool. You're cool. It's whatevs. I picked up a drop stitch. Yeah. Okay, knit, knit, knit. Whee! Okay, we're getting this nice little stretchy knitty thing. Okay, so now we're going to bind off. This is how we get the stitches off of the needle. It's also called casting off. So you start by knitting 2 stitches. Then insert your left needle into the stitch on the right needle, and then pull it up and over the other stitch and off. Voila, you've just bound off your first stitch. Okay, again, knit the next stitch, insert the needle into that loop there, and then pull it up and over the other stitch. And just keep going all the way across. You'll want to do this fairly loosely. Don't do this too tightly, or you'll have a tiny, tight, pinched little finish. And most projects are just not gonna work with that. So, all right, here we are. We have gotten down to the last stitch. If you want to, you can whoop, just boop, boop, pull it out like so. If you're terrified it's gonna unravel, you can tie a knot or something. I never do. It's not gonna unravel. Now, how do you finish it? You're going to take either a little darning needle or a crochet hook. Since I have a crochet hook right here, I'll show you this, and you're going to weave in that end like so. All right, I actually prefer a darning needle though. You don't want to weave it back and forth. Okay, so we've got this stretchy, springy little knitted piece. It's so cute. Weep, 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 weep. Woohoo, look at me. Look at me. Look at me go. Woo. Yeah. I love you. Thank you for watching. Goodbye now. Bye. Alright, so that was our very first lesson in knitting, and we have a little stretchy thing. If you want to, you could cast on, say, about 25 stitches, and just keep going, and you can make a scarf. Or this will make a scarf too, just a skinnier one. So you just keep going and going and going and bind off the same way that I showed you, and you'll have a lovely cozy scarf to keep for yourself or give away. Or you can make a little miniature one for your doggy or your kitty. So, all right, well, if you have any questions, just let me know. You can post below and I'll do my best to reply. If there's any other kind of tutorials you want me to do, please let me know that as well. Knitting, crocheting, spinning, dyeing, just whatever. So, all right, that's it for today. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye. Hello, I'm Chandi of Expression. Hello? And you want to make sure that it is, you just want to, now you need some needles. Woo! No, you don't need all of these, but I am going to, just for